Have you told your friends that you see ghosts?
Oh, absolutely not.
Gina Rodriguez returns in Not Dead Yet.
I'm back, baby.
Who is that?
Oh, she's the obituary writer.
And Brad Garrett joins the brilliant ensemble cast.
Titan, Maverick, Titan of all Mavericks. These are all words used to describe me.
Not Dead Yet. Season premiere. Tonight, 8:30, 7:30 Central on ABC. And stream on Hulu.
It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Over the break, a bunch of parenting studies and stories have hit the news. Some of them have been very, very serious. They include hard-hitting stories like teenage boys who are being trapped in online honeypots. There's been some pretty explosive research come out about kids in daycare, not politically correct, the sort of stuff that can upset people, but we need to talk about it. And also the Australian Child Maltreatment Study, a big news story looking at child abuse. All of those stories are coming up on the Happy Families podcast in the next couple of weeks as we address the very, very serious stuff.
But today's not serious at all.
Nothing
We're going to
about
look
today.
at pop culture and the stories that have made the headlines and our reactions to them.
On the podcast, once a month or thereabouts, we do an episode called This Week in Parenting. Now, just before we do this, a quick, heads up. Normally, this is a very practical podcast where we try to help you to be better parents. I think you'll still get better parenting ideas out of this podcast, but every now and again, it's just nice to look at, I don't know, the tabloidy, trashy stuff and see what's happening out there in, I was going to say the real world. I don't know if this is the real world or not.
Well, I'm just going to put it out there. I would not be having a conversation about any of these things with my mum friends at a cafe.
Yeah, but you're not a TikToker either.
I'm not.
No. Okay, so here's our first story. The Barbie dream house has exploded on TikTok. We have Play Maisie at Play Maisie on TikTok, who decided that when it was Christmas and the Barbie dream house was being gifted to
I
her
think
little
this needs
girl.
a drum roll. This one's funny.
Let's glue down all the furniture, kids. You're not going to move any of it.
If you are gifting a kid the Barbie dream house for Christmas this year, do not wait until Christmas Eve to build this thing. It's currently Friday. We have 3 days to go. Tonight, I'm building this. Tomorrow night, I will put on the stickers and I will glue all of the furniture with B6000 glue down so the pieces don't end up all over the house and then she never plays with it because the furniture is not in there. And then Sunday night, I will put it down under the tree, not wrapped. Good luck to all of us parents.
All right, Kylie. I mean, this has gone nuts. Thousands and thousands of comments, millions of views. This is kind of parenting news, right? Is it appropriate or is it not appropriate? I can't believe you're laughing this much. Is it okay to glue your kid's Barbie dream house furniture to the dream house so that it can't move around?
I have to give her a round of applause.
Right. Why?
For ingenuity and just thinking outside the box as far as how to make her mum life easier.
Right.
There is nothing worse than your child having a meltdown because they've lost the tiny little plate that goes on their Barbie dream house table and they can't find it and you're never going to find it again because the dog probably ate it or it's hidden down a crack of...
Can I be the serious parenting expert for a second? Being a parent is not about making your life more convenient. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't buy the Barbie dream house so the kids can look at it and say, oh, I love how perfectly accessorized this has been. I don't want to touch it.
And I guess in a more serious tone, the notion that what she has actually done is created a closed-ended play item means that I'm going to suggest in a few months' time, her kid's not even actually going to want to play with it.
The great irony is in the clip, she's saying, I don't want her to lose all the pieces so she can't play with it in a couple of months' time. But by doing what she's doing, she's not going to play with it even for a couple of months. It becomes this static thing that you look at and march the Barbie around for 10 minutes and it's like, yeah, okay, bored.
In education terms, we'd assess whether or not an activity was worthwhile based on how open-ended it was, how much ability does your child have to make choices around how they will use it and how they will play with it? The more open-ended something is, the more it taps into our kids' creativity and their imagination. Once you've glued down the pieces, there's not a lot of imagination going on. Dinner has to be eaten at the dining table in the kitchen. But what if I want it in the bathroom?
Here's the second news story. Chris Hemsworth. Guess what? Do you know what the kids call Chris?
And Chris Hemsworth might be one of the world's most famous movie stars, but his fans were surprised by some of his recent holiday posts. Chris's 9-year-old son, Tristan, can be heard calling his dad by his first name while they were fishing during their Fiji holiday.
Come on, Chris.
What?
Come on, keep on fighting it.
They call him Chris. They don't call him Dad. News.com.au reported that Chris Hemsworth is, well, newsworthy because, let me just say something about news.com.au. They know that if they use the word Hemsworth...
I was about to say, this has got very little to do with anything that's happening, just the fact that it's Chris.
That's right. If there is a Hemsworth in the title, people are going to click on it. Same with Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo, Chris Hemsworth stories, they know they're going to get clicks. But this is in the news. Chris Hemsworth has been spotted in public and his children have been overheard talking to him. And they're not saying, hey, Dad. They're saying, hey, Chris. So, Kylie, reactions.
I'm actually torn on this one. I can't imagine my kids not calling me mum, but I think part of that comes down to what societal norms and expectations have placed on us. And in the past, when kids have called their parents by their first name, it has not been depicted as nice, respectful, or kind. So that's my preface. But when I think about my name, it suggests something personal and intimate. And if you're using my name, it means you know me and we have a relationship. So in that regard, it actually makes sense that they might use their name. I hate it when I hear people say, hey, son, come here, or hey, daughter, come here. That doesn't feel personal or intimate to me. That's just like, I can't be bothered trying to work out what your name is because I'm going to get it wrong anyway.
And by the way, if you do say, son, over here, we're not judging you, okay? Oh, Kylie's not judging you. I didn't say that, by the way. Kylie said that, okay? Just so you know, if you want to call your son, you just be my guest.
I'm divided. I don't actually have a problem with them calling him Chris, and the rest of the world calls him Chris and they don't even know him.
Yeah, okay. So I would like to say that there is no research that I'm aware of that highlights that children are going to be better off or worse off by calling their father or their mother by their first name or mum or dad. From a socialization point of view, and just, I guess, from a values point of view, I mean, you do you. Whatever works for you. I've known plenty of people who call their parents by their first name, well-adjusted, doing great, no problem, and likewise plenty of people who say mum and dad. For me, there are only 6 people on the entire planet who get to call me dad. So to me, the word dad is really special. It's really sacred, and it connotes a different relationship. It connotes a relationship that I have with that person that is completely distinguished from any other relationship. So I think it's such a privilege. I every now and again when the kids say, hey, Dad, there's part of me that just sort of melts. I think, wow, there's actually a human on this planet that gets to call me that, and it's really special. No one else does that. Quick story, though, as an aside. You know this story very well. The first time I rang your home so that I could talk to you, your mum picked up the phone. And the way that she answers the phone is, this is Natasha speaking. And I said, oh, hi, Natasha. My name's Justin. I was hoping Kylie's at home. And what I didn't know is that after you got off the phone from me, your mum said, I hope he knows never to call me Natasha again. In fact, we had quite a challenge in the son-in-law, mother-in-law relationship for, what do you reckon, 10 years? 15 years, because your mum did not want to be called by her name. It was too personal to her, which I find ironic because even people in the call centre called her by her name. She wanted me to call her mum, but she's not my mum. And again, for me, the sacredness of that relationship, there's only one person on the planet that I call mum, and that's my mum. Probably spent too much time on this one, but I just reckon you do you, whatever. But for me, I love the fact that there are 6 little people on this planet that get to call me dad, and I wouldn't want them to call me anything else.
So our next story is probably one that's not safe for kids.
Yeah, if you're driving in the car or listening with your children, we recommend you press pause or just sort of skip over the next one and come back to it a little bit later. This is definitely a parents-only story that is definitely needing to be raised because it's been in the news.
Saltburn. It's a new show on Amazon Prime, and it is not for our kids.
There's strong sexual content, graphic nudity, language, disturbing violent content, and drug use.
No, it doesn't seem to be for our kids. Now, in fairness, you and I have not watched it, and I know that when you read something or you read about something, it can be really hard to know whether what you're reading is, like, sometimes reading it makes it worse, whereas if you just watch it, it's there, it's gone. You don't pick up on it so much.
Yeah, and I think to read it requires so much more brain activity than watching it because it's a passive.
It's a different level of processing. Yeah. But Saltburn is definitely a not safe for kids show. It's an MA rating. I mean, back in the day, it would have been an R-rated show, I reckon. Here's what Madison, who works with Kira Pendergast at Safe on Social, had to say on Instagram about it. She's a 17-year-old. Madison said, the new movie Saltburn on Amazon Prime is going absolutely viral. The highly sexualized movie explores the ideas of desire and passion and mixes in some thriller and drama elements to create a captivating but incredibly disturbing film. There are 4 major scenes which the internet's going crazy about, and many young people are making blind react videos. So for people who are not familiar with the whole blind react videos, it's basically when you see something for the first time and somebody films your reaction to it. So kids are saying, hey, mum, or hey, dad, or hey, friends, or hey, brother, hey, sister, whoever you are, I want to show you this shocking thing on the TV and I want to film your reaction, except they don't say it's shocking. They just say, hey, watch this, and they film the reaction. The scenes are highly sexual in nature, says Madison, with the most notable being the bathtub scene. Again, this part is not safe for kids to listen to. In this scene, Jacob Elordi's character Felix is depicted from a distance masturbating in a bathtub while Ollie, the disturbed psychopath, watches on. After Felix leaves, Ollie is seen doing something far too disturbing to write here. The clips of this particular scene are all over TikTok and Instagram already, and this isn't the only troubling scene. The graveyard scene depicts Ollie having intercourse with Felix's grave after he murders him, and it goes on. Now, I mean, part of me, look, if this is your thing, I'm not judging you for it. I don't get it. I don't get why people make this sort of stuff. I don't think that it's real. I don't think that it's consistent with what most people think is entertaining. I just don't get it. But you know what? If you've got kids that are 12 or up, it's going to be a topic of conversation in the school playground, and there's going to be a whole lot of kids who are watching it.
And if they're not watching it, it's going to be coming up through their threads.
It's all through Instagram. It's all through TikTok. So we really need to talk about how to have a conversation with your kids about this.
Just recently, we actually had one of our daughters ask if she could go and watch a movie with a friend. And at this point in her development, we're really trying to let her make more of her decisions around content and what she'll watch and read. But we decided that because of the rating, we needed to actually just do a little bit of research ourselves. And so we looked up Common Sense Media.
I'm a big fan of Common Sense Media. It lays it out so well.
And as a result of that, unfortunately for her, literally the first review you read was very, very descriptive.
It's pretty explicit. And so I just showed it to her and I said, read this review and tell me if this is the kind of movie that you would feel comfortable watching.
And it was pretty instant. As she read it, she kind of just handed us back the phone and said, I guess I'll look for a different movie.
I'll watch something else. Yeah. Having the conversation means, here's what we value. How comfortable do you feel watching this? Why would this be entertaining? Like, you just sort of step through it and talk to the kids about, yes, other kids are allowed to do it. Their parents probably aren't having these conversations. Maybe they're not as concerned about content as we are. Why might we be concerned about you seeing this? How might it affect you?
I remember a long time ago now, it would be probably 10 or 15 years ago, a friend asked me to go to the movies with her. And because I know my friend and I'm an adult, I just kind of blindly said, yeah, let's go. And it wasn't until we were sitting in there and I realised the content that was coming out, and I looked at her and I said, do you know what this movie's about? And she said, no, I've heard lots of really good things about it. I was blown away.
And this is the thing with kids. They just go along because everybody else is doing it. And as parents, we've got a job to work with them on keeping them safe and helping them to learn appropriate things at appropriate times in appropriate ways. and not have all of this junk that Hollywood just wants to push on them that is not safe for them. It's just not good for them.
Well, it sets this notion that it's normal. This behaviour is normal, it's acceptable, and yet most of it's not.
Right. Last story, really quickly.
Meta says it is adding new safety features to protect teenagers on Facebook and Instagram. All teens will now be placed automatically in the most restrictive content control settings on the apps, and additional search terms will be limited on Instagram.
What that basically means is that it's going to default teen users into the most restrictive content settings that they have to help them to not be exposed to content that is not for kids.
Yeah, but what does this actually really mean? Because you and I both know our kids are ridiculously tech savvy and they know how to get around these parameters.
Oh, yeah,
is it actually going to make any difference?
Potentially. I mean, a lot of kids may not notice that it's happened. Content settings will be changed. The children will be able to go back into content, or the teenagers will be able to go back into the content settings and change them to what they want them to be if they wish to. But here's what it means to me, I think. For years, Meta has made a big deal about how everyone who's saying, oh, we need to keep our kids safe, they've been saying, you know what? You're all wrong, and what our platforms do is fine. The new guidelines pretty much say to me, well, if the new guidelines have made these apps more age appropriate now, what were they before? They had to have not been age appropriate before. Otherwise, the new guidelines wouldn't be making things more age appropriate. Anyone, and here's what they're doing, anyone who is under the age of 18 who currently has Facebook and Instagram is going to be automatically opted into a filtering tool that hides content that features self-harm or suicide or eating disorders. And this is a new thing. Like, for years they've been saying, no, we're doing the right thing and we're keeping you safe. Now they're doing this. It's a fantastic thing that they're doing, but they've done it way too late. I think that it's pathetic that it's taken this long, but at least the content policy is improving. And that's the news that you've missed over the holidays. I think you're up to date. What do you reckon?
I don't know if I'd call it up to date, but...
Come on, this has been great. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Roland from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. For more info about making your family happier, please visit us at happyfamilies.com.au and hope you enjoy your Australia Day long weekend. See you Monday.